So, apparently, this is the first time in 40 years Naughty Dog didn't had to crunch. Let me just read the tweet.
This is the first time in my 30-year career across multiple studios that I didn't need to crunch to finish a game. Feels good, really good. Especially hitting the same quality bar as The Last of Us Part 2. More work to keep doing, but proud of the big changes so far to make the studio healthier.
Don't get me wrong, it's great to see that people are not overworked. But let's just read the next comment before I say more.
Shouldn't really need to crunch when it's just a repaint of the original, surely.
Okay, so the developer said that this was the first time in 14 years that he didn't do crunch. So this means that for the remastered they did crunch? Because I really don't understand. Maybe he wasn't on the project for the remastered? Because you will need even less effort to make a remaster versus a remake. Or maybe it was very simple to do the remaster, so maybe they also had to work on other projects. Or maybe he wasn't needed for the remaster. So this is why I have two questions. Was the remake very easy to make? Or Naughty Dog finally tries to not overwork their employees? Anthony Vaccaro replies to the comment.
Paint a newly built house and then fully repaint that same house with a new coat of paint. And see how easy it is. For a ground up remake, some departments require a lot of work while others require very little work and can focus on other projects.
Well, Anthony, this is exactly what we are saying. You just improved a little some parts of the game. You did not remake the game. Final Fantasy VII Remake is a remake. Resident Evil 2 Remake is a remake. The Last of Us Part 1 Remake is not a remake. Or let's say it is. But it is a very, very low effort remake. The environment is the same, the characters are the same, the voice acting is the same. You did what? Some improvements to the AI? Was The Last of Us Part 1 AI so bad? Because I didn't see a huge issue with the AI. And I already made a video talking about the Part 2 AI, proving that it's not a huge improvement. It still has a lot of issues. So while I understand that some people still had a lot of work to do and others didn't, you still did not make the game from ground up. You just did some improvements. Or as you said, you just repainted the house. You didn't even have to think about what colors to use. You just used the same colors. Okay, let's read more from Chris, the man who called out Naughty Dog.
From what I have seen, the cutscenes are the same and so is the gameplay. So since character models, story, assist, etc. are all in place, it will be easy to make. Surely this will need around 25% of what you usually do to make a game.
Exactly. Remaking a game like The Last of Us Part 2 is not a big deal. It's not from the ground up. It's not the same as Final Fantasy VII Remake or Resident Evil 2 Remake. It's exactly the same as when somebody comes to repaint your house, but they want you to pay the same price as building the house. Because it's exactly like rebuilding the house from the ground up. Do you see how stupid that is? And believe me, they know how stupid that is, but they don't care because they want easy money from the fanboys. And as always, Twitter is full of fanboys and bots. So of course we can find an NPC fanboy that said,
Do you talk like this to workers of any profession or just game developers?
and Carl gives a perfect reply.
Any profession that expects me to want to spend money on something. And yes, like repairing a car, if the auto body place tries comparing it to building the car, yes, I would talk the same way.
Exactly, the remake is exactly like having a car that needs small repairs and a new paint job just because it has a few scratches. But they want to charge you the same price as a new car. That is a scam. And you are an idiot if you don't say something. And I always hated these fanboys NPCs because they only comment when somebody is criticizing the crash grabs. They don't say anything about the lazy excuse for a remake. They don't say anything about the game being full priced. And they also don't say anything when the corporations overwork their developers. They only complain when somebody is criticizing the game, even if that criticism is 100% accurate. So I don't think it's a win when a Naughty Dog artist says that not having crunch for the first time in 30 years is great. I mean, come on, this should be something normal. How can it be a good thing that this is the first time in 30 years that you didn't have to do crunch? It's a good start, but it's not something to be proud of. It's like a company coming out and saying that this is the first time in 40 years that we didn't use child labor. Or this is the first time in 40 years that we actually paid our employees. Or this is the first time in 40 years that we actually gave our employees a vacation. And right now at the end I noticed that he was a game artist. So of course he wasn't overworked. He just did some small visual improvements. He already has the models. And from what I understand, they used a lot of stuff from The Last of Us Part 2. So the only way that the artist is overworked is if he worked on other projects. Because again, I still don't understand how he was overworked when he did the remastered. And yes, doing crunch is being overworked. I did crunch a lot. But I wasn't forced to do crunch. The problem was that the normal salary was very low. But doing crunch usually means that you are paid more. You get extra bonus, you get free food, and time flies very fast. At least that's how it was for me. And it was a good way to make the money that I deserve. But after some time you notice something. You don't have a lot of time for your friends, for your family, for your free time. And no matter how much you love the job, you will become a robot. All you have is your work, and your personal life is non-existent. So if you are in a position that you do crunch a lot, you should not do it. Because when you will not work there anymore, you will lose everything. Especially your friends. Because when you do crunch, the people from work are also your friends. Because you see each other non-stop. So when you finally change jobs, you will lose everyone. Because they really don't have time for you. They are doing crunch all the time. So try to find a job where you don't need to do crunch to make a decent salary. Or to be promoted. Because no matter how much money you have, you will never buy your time back. So my point is to not work for a company that makes you say, finally, after 13 years, I have some free time. I didn't have to do crunch. Because that is sad. You basically sacrifice your personal life for corporations. Meanwhile, the investors and the people in charge make a lot of money. And they have free time. And they have a personal life. And they have fun. While you are happy that you didn't have to do crunch for the first time in 14 years. Not only that, but you still shield for that corporation. What can I say? Naughty Dog is good at finding fanboys. And apparently many times they even hire them.